Thank you, dear colleagues. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. It is visible and you are audible very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you all. Good morning to the organization team, distinguished guests, and ATSEP around the world. By the way, is my camera okay? Because I can't see it. Anyway, what I'm going to talk to you about is the strategic point to be addressed by developing ANSPs or any ANSP, in that matter, if you like, for addressing the future requirements of the new technologies that Kostas has hinted upon for future ATSEP. We hear from every day in the international fora some keywords and innovative, if you like, research and development concepts that are leading to increased performance and scalability. Scalability is a new word in our environments. I'll explain to you later what that is. So we hear about digitalization, about cloud technologies, resulting or needed distributed architectures, remote towers, artificial intelligence, and new concepts like the ATM data service providers in Europe, but virtual centers, cybersecurity, etc., etc. What are they really all about? How close are they to implementation? And what is the impact on ATSEP tasks, roles, and responsibilities? These are the questions that we will be dealing with in this presentation. It has been said that whatever you put your attention on, it will grow in your perception and become the prevailing issue. So, talking about our environment, if you focus on the final product, this is the only thing that you will see. You won't see all the factors contributing to the delivery of the products. Remember, CNS slash ATM is an ICAO forgotten notion, as everybody talks about ATM these days, meaning the ATC, the end service that is delivered to the pilot, that is out of the picture. And I mean CNS and ATM is out of the picture. And consequently, ATSEP are not visible. For ATS to be delivered, a whole network of CNS and ATM systems, including the flight inspection activities, are crucial enablers to the ultimate service delivery to the pilots. Please remember that navigation is delivered directly to the pilot without the intervention of the ATS. Please keep in mind also that this is an issue for the space-based CNS as well. And I'm mentioning flight inspection here and ground navigation systems, to say the least, because last year ICAO produced a circular on flight inspection and periodicity activities, flight calibration, and ground CNS systems delivered during the COVID-19 crisis, where they revisited for the first time after many, many years the issue of the flight inspection and the periodicity, in the sense that it is an enabler to, let's say, airport throughput. I'm saying this because I haven't seen any discussion, apart from one lately on ICAO, on the issue of flight inspection and the fact that they are, how can I say it, critical enablers for service continuity. And also remember that whatever we're discussing here today is usually under the umbrella of the cost reduction. There is discussion of concepts and business, new concepts and business models. There are notions about changing the mindset from an integrated ANSP, which has all the services bundled, ATS, CNS, etc., to thinking rather of ANS individual service delivery. As a result, there is a tendency to change the architecture for service delivery, service-oriented architecture, which of course is of distributed nature, with data, the new keyword, exchange of over SWIM, system-wide information management network, aviation network. At the same time, there is talk about digitalization, new concept of applications such as automation as a product of digitalization and artificial intelligence. And somewhere there appear new entrants like the drone application and services that want a share of the airspace. Focusing only on the future is not the right approach to do things in aviation. We have to maintain current safety and performance levels and build upon them. This notion is taken for granted. The aircraft environment is fully scrutinized and rigorously certified. However, the ground CNS and ATM systems and their services are not. The personnel, including the avionics engineers working for the aircraft, are all included in ICAO Annex 1 and fully licensed. For the ground and space-based CNS and ATM systems, ATSEP, although decided in the ICAO Assembly several years ago, they have not yet been included in the ICAO Annex 1. Please note here that I'm mentioning the space-based CNS also services, because at least in Europe, technical staff working for the EGNOS service provider are ATSEP and are being trained accordingly as ATSEP. And I'll give an example now that I have given in the past, but it's really, I think, illustrative of how the general aviation related public addresses the issue of cybersecurity. Everybody talks about it. So let's take an example. When discussing the issue of cybersecurity in international organizations and fora, ask the following question. Think of a cybersecurity scenario and please describe your opinion of who and how is going to address it. In my experience, in 9 out of 10 cases, the scenario will be of IT nature only, and the personnel attending to it will be IT, addressing the virus or an attack. However, we know that attack scenarios can be of hybrid nature, network and signal in space combined. Also, we're talking about IT personnel working on CNS and ATS systems where only ATSEP are authorized and hopefully in the near future with a license to deal with. They are responsible for it. So shouldn't the ATSEP of the future be trained and competent for the task? And I mean receive cybersecurity training, something that has been added to the European regulation as Kostas hinted earlier. So we're talking about, again, about new concepts and business models that build on digitalization, automation, and artificial intelligence. From the current research, there is a tendency, according to the equivalent level of automation, there are different levels of automation, with regard to the human operator role, to use machine learning and artificial intelligence that will be running in the new CNS and ATM systems. But the ATSEP will be attending these systems in real time and will be required to address the degradation or failure. Note, restarting an application running with machine learning integrated will not restart a clean, fresh process like it's done today, but it will be using the learned data as basis. So if you're trying to identify where the fault is for the performance of the system, the behavior, whatever, you have to take this into account. It's a totally new way of thinking. For example, in cases where there is a need for incident reconstruction for evaluation of the incident, there will be a need to evaluate the algorithm performance. This is not something totally new, and there is discussion about artificial intelligence algorithm certification. So shouldn't the ATSEP of the future be trained and competent for these tasks too? We know about remote towers, cloud technology, etc. In remote towers, which are a highly intense technological solution for more efficient utilization of the ATCO time for one or multiple airports, there is no focus on the ATSEP role. The ATSEP on site that is needed to ensure the CNS and ATM and the other support systems like cameras, etc., continuity of service delivery has been overlooked. IFATSEA has intervened in several projects in Europe to include an ATSEP working position for system SMC. And see the asterisk there, I'm using a new term that is being introduced by us, the ATSEP working position. It's about time we have an ATSEP working position. In the cloud technology approaches, the new trend is not to use proprietary systems for data processing, let's say, but instead install the related applications on the cloud. That would mean that the ATSEP will be somewhere in front of a monitor, remotely controlling the applications that are running on the cloud. However, the notion of the ATSEP working position that will allow the provider to address this issue, this task, has not been studied yet. It's not there. Moreover, tools and applications have not been thought of yet, not even thought of yet. Evidently, this is a risk and a showstopper, in my opinion, for the as being not identified or studied yet. There are some there is some wording, some explanations and elaboration of this issue on the document that Kostas mentioned earlier, developed for EGHD within a EGHD in Europe about the future role of the ATSEP. I recommended you that you request it from Kostas or from the ATSEP Europe website and download it. So again, the same question comes up. Shouldn't the ATSEP of the future be trained and competent for this innovative task, including the development, the working position, ATSEP working position, definition and standardization? You heard about virtual centers and ATM data service providers. Virtual centers are a European concept where the ATS is delivered within by ATS rooms that are geographically somewhere else, separated from ATM data processing system, either that being RDP and definitely FTP applications or both. There will be clients to the virtual centers, will be clients to the ATM data service providers data, and ATSEP will be responsible for their systems. I will comment something about this later on. Now, the ATSPs where the processing takes place will be integrated in RDP, as I said, FTP applications with all the safety nets running and combining all the informational and distributing all the aeronautical information required. Aeronautical information is something totally different than ATM data. They will be certified as ANSPs and be run mainly by ATSEP. And of course, they will be able to deliver data, the airspace pictures, we say, to different virtual centers. So let's say that if a company has an issue with an NSP has an issue with lack of controllers, they will be able to reroute the airspace picture to another virtual center, and that will be operated from the contracted out, let's say, a virtual center. You read there, probably, as I mentioned, that The ADSPs will be certified as ANSPs and run by ATSEP. This is something that has not come about by itself. It took several participations in the study groups where we were invited as observers to exert pressure and regulation requirements for the ADSPs to be characterized as ANSPs and the ATSEP being delegate to them as being ATSEP and no IT people. These challenges have to be watched very carefully. Of course, this study that came about proposing the ADSPs talks about severe reductions in the cost of data, let's say the airspace picture delivery, through the reduction of ATM systems and personnel. The study identifies an amount of about 1.2 billion. We fought against this statement as the politicians would love to present some economies of this scale through a new concept. But again, before we go there, shouldn't the ATSEP of the future be trained and competent to perform these tasks? The success of these new concepts require that the ATSEP of the future have the background, the entry qualifications, training syllabus, culture, etc., to address the new requirements that stem from the new concepts, the aviation environment applications and notions. This will succeed in achieving the ultimate product delivery, with safety being first and performance and efficiency following. The ICAO training manual must proactively adopt and adapt to the new training requirements for ATSEP, as I explained before. Meanwhile, new tools and applications will have to be researched and developed into mature final products to be able to ensure that CNS and ATM systems service delivery as an integral part of the ATSEP working position. And IFATSEA is working, as you know, in all regions to promote the importance of the ATSEP role for safety and ANS delivery. Hoping that you can still hear me, I come to a conclusion that the ATSEP role of the future must be of sound technical electronic background, highly trained in new technologies and concepts, and licensed like the other frontline actors listed in ICAO Annex 1. The ATSEP working position must be analyzed in all possible instances. There has to be a generic concept that will be different for C, for N, for S, for ATM, or I don't know, for distributed systems supervision, and should be relating to the ATSEP task, the working position being standardized and harmonized globally under the ICAO total system approach. ANSPs of the future will rely for their ANS services delivery on competent and licensed ATSEP as transversal enablers to the quality and service continuity of the future. This is how I want you all and myself to see ourselves, as transversal enablers and critical enablers to service delivery. All this while at the same time operating within a collaborative decision-making environment with ATCOS pilots and national authorities. I thank you very much for your patience.